So as Dave mentioned, I'm Peter Heinrich. I'm a developer evangelist with Amazon.com. And I'm here today to talk about something that we see critical to making any really successful game. It's a common strategy. We see it used by most of the really successful developers on our store. And it's basically evolving your typical player into a true fan. And this talk is all about what that means and why it's important for your success. So first, let me describe a little bit of our motivation for this talk, actually for the whole Dev Day. It's something that Dave actually mentioned earlier in the day, right at the beginning. And it's related to the fact that, we're Amazon, we're all about retail, we're all about selling physical goods, of course, but also digital goods. And we spend a lot of time thinking about how to make developers successful in general. Jesse mentioned that. Our success is really based on how well you do, right? So it's how many downloads you get, how many 5-star reviews you get, how many sales conversions. And Dave Isbitski, in his introduction, mentioned one of the metrics that we use to measure this, which is the percentage of apps above the app poverty line. So Vision Mobile released this report that shows that, depending on the platform, only about 41 to 60% of all apps make more than about $500 a month. And this is really what I mean when I say the app poverty line. Are you making more than $500 a month? So we spend a lot of time talking to the developers. We're trying to basically reverse engineer what aspects of their production, what tactics, what components of the game affect that number. And it turns out that you can learn a lot by first looking at the minimum viable product, by which, of course, I mean the simplest product that actually supports sales and allows you to operate a business. So traditionally, the minimum viable product is based on 3 major components. Part 1 is just a game loop, right? This is the collection of gameplay mechanics that make the game fun, and it's often measured by how long people play, how often they come back, and of course, how they straight up rate the game. You also need a way to make revenue or otherwise capture value. It doesn't have to just be money. So maybe this means driving traffic to some other core business. For example, it doesn't even have to be a game. You might have a dentist app, and it tracks your visits. Its real value is to encourage you to get back in the office, right? They want you in the chair so they can make money that way. Other apps may charge for downloads. They may sell in-app purchase items. They may show ads. And all of this direct revenue is measured with ARPU, which is the average revenue per user. And then finally, you need a way to attract customers, preferably new customers, right? One way you can do this is by buying advertising. Another is to have existing customers. A better way, really, is to have existing customers spread the word, maybe invite their friends. This is definitely lower cost. It's also much more targeted. And you often hear it described in terms of virality. How viral is your app? Not to be confused with virility, which happens sometimes. But in the end, most people look at this, they measure it by looking at the daily or the monthly active users as a measure of the user acquisition. So you take all these together, and they make the minimum viable product. But that's really just the beginning. So I mentioned that we spend a lot of time, I mentioned several times, we spend a lot of time talking to developers, and it's true. That's basically Dave, Jesse, most of the people you'll see today, actually, I think, spend a huge proportion of their time just interfacing with developers, trying to get more information about what's working and what isn't. And if you and I were to sit down today and discuss your app, we would probably gravitate to one of these 3 topic areas, right? Each one is really high impact, they're super tactical, and you can make a big difference by improving any one or all of these factors in your game. But the truth is, MVP, minimum viable product, is nothing new, and most app and game developers already know they need to hit these 3 basics. The problem is that most people stop there. And the top apps, however, build on them. They keep going. They realize that building a fan base is actually the next level. So I actually really love foosball. I'm kind of a die-hard player. I'm actually, not to toot my own horn, I'm pretty good. So I accept any challenge, singles, doubles, one arm behind my back, whatever, doesn't matter. But foosball is not a good model for a blockbuster game. So I have fun. I make time for it. I have people that I play with regularly. That's great. That's all fine. And it's actually required to make a game fun for the players. But without a fan base, it's never going to go mainstream. So now consider this other pastime, which I think is even loosely based on foosball. Look at the amount of fun in this picture. Look at the amount of revenue in this picture. The fans here outnumber the players about 1,000 to 1, and that's just the people in the stadium. The business opportunities have also expanded, obviously. Think about all the monetization that's happening. You've got the hot dog vendor, the jersey makers, you've got the commentators. These people have all built entire businesses around the game. So if you can take your game from the players to a broader fan base, it converts it from being foosball into being football or soccer. Does it really translate for games? Well, let's just take a minute to look at this data from Newzoo. So it's all focused on esports, which is basically broadcast events showing video gameplay. It takes a while, especially if you're from the Amiga crowd, like some of us, to get your head wrapped around people sitting to watch other people play video games. But it grows on you really fast, and actually I'm now kind of addicted. But you can see that if we just look at the current audience, which is occasional plus frequent viewers, it's kind of the middle green and blue bar, it's already more than 200 million people for 2014. So just this one component of fandom that's watching other players play video games is huge. It generates, what is that, $194 million a year. And Newzoo is projecting that that revenue is going to reach almost $500 million by 2017. So how do we move from a game for players to a game for fans? Well, the first component is made up of influencers. So these are the people who get in early, they try it out, they show other people how to play, what it's all about, they kind of spread the word about what's happening. And these folks really explore your game, right? They're key to introducing it to the mainstream, since they're the ones who are kind of describing what it's all about. So influencers come in a bunch of different shapes and sizes, but the most desirable are actually the ones that are advocates for you. So these are the people who just love your brand. That's why I have a picture of Mini. They're the people who love to talk about it. They love to share it with other people. And if you drive a Mini, for example, you're out there, you're waving to the other Mini drivers. You talk about Mini to your friends. If anyone asks, you're really quick to describe how fun they are to drive, how the people are so cool, and of course you should get a Mini. This isn't actually by accident. Mini has done a really good job of fostering this advocacy, and they famously had long waiting lists for the cars. So if you go to buy one, you kind of have to sign up, and then you get the car later on. You take possession later after it's built. And so Carrie Martin, who I think her title is something like Guardian of Brand Soul for Mini USA, and her team came up with a program called Make Waiting Fun. And it was a way to turn their waiting customers into enthusiastic brand ambassadors. It was a combination of online and offline experience, and it included swag to keep customers excited. So it might include things like a Mini parking only stencil that you can apply in your garage, for instance. I think they also had like an unauthorized owner's manual. It had like all the behind the scenes tips and secrets for your car. So expanding that to the game world, look at how League of Legends supports fans and lets them express their enthusiasm. This is an example of fan art, a player basically who is so excited about the game they've actually created something new to express that feeling. This is Annie and her bear, Tibbers. And League of Legends celebrates this, right? They welcome these creations, and they put them on display. There's a gallery full of images like this. And then within the game itself, they offer all sorts of rewards for drawing other people in, like special characters and such. So for example, if you attract 3 friends, you can get a cool new exclusive skin for your character. And this is nice because it helps people understand the objective how to achieve objectives in the game. Plus, it just naturally rewards this advocate behavior. So another kind of influencer is the professional. This is somebody like a broadcaster or a journalist or a league player who makes a living playing games or commenting on them. So Reynad27, for example, he's a prominent Twitch TV broadcaster who makes his living from subscriptions to his channel, as well as tournaments and sponsorships. And his following is really amazing. It's more than 209,000 followers and about 18 million views on Twitch. So it's not possible for everybody, but if you have the resources to connect with a professional player, you tap directly into their network. The Hearthstone event shown here actually netted more than 250,000 viewers with about 10 million minutes watched. And what's really amazing is the average time spent viewing this event with Reynad27 was almost 66 minutes per person. So involving a pro with a significant following allowed Hearthstone to amp up their fan base in a real hurry. So now let's look at another level of influence. There's the regular players, there's the professionals, but there are also the celebrities. So take PewDiePie, for example. He's the #1 subscribed channel on YouTube, even more than YouTube itself, which is kind of amazing. And he played a game called Flappy Bird on January 27th, 2013. You can see an immediate spike in related Google searches once his video went live. So this is an example of someone who's a real celebrity. It could be a movie star, it could be a musician, or it could be a YouTuber like PewDiePie. They get hold of your game and it could just go crazy, right? PewDiePie got 25 million views for his Flappy Bird video, which obviously and certainly contributed to the explosion in Flappy Bird's fan base. Now, there are also developers out there who are working to foster advocacy even before they launch. So you can take Vlambeer, for example. I think Jesse mentioned Luftrausers. This is a different game, but they've got 11,000 followers so far on Twitch TV with more than 8 million views. These are people who are watching them as they actually build their game online. They're live streaming as they construct it, right? So the viewers can interact with them, which is fantastic. They can say, oh, make that guy bigger or more muscular or whatever. Oh, we want lasers, whatever it is. And he does it. He can do it in real time, right? He said, oh, okay, yeah, let's try that, or let's try this. And so the fans become part of building the story and the product. How cool would it be if you could call up American Idol? Well, maybe not American Idol. I'm going to think of another example. Well, anyway, so for now, let's say you want to call up American Idol and talk about what's going on. You want to chat with a judge or one of the contestants and participate in real time. That's basically what these guys are doing. And of course, subscribers get special treatment, right? They get this enhanced access. And Vlambeer is smart. They actually say, if you subscribe to our channel, of course we'll give you the game for free. So those people basically get in on the ground floor. Vlambeer's 11,000 users have already expressed an interest. They want to know, when Vlambeer is online. And when the game comes out, these people are going to have it. They're the ones who are going to be all like, hey, I'm early. I was there first. I'm doing a video where I talk about this game and how great it is. So again, this is exactly how to get the advocacy ball rolling. So here's another example of a development team using Twitch TV to build interest before launch. This is Steamroller Studios, and they haven't launched their Kickstarter yet, but they're about to go to PAX. So here they've got a team of 5 different people. They're all on at the same time, so you can hear from the producer, the director, the game designer, artist, or even the developer, and they're working on their game and talking through it live. And at one point in the stream, they did a pitch. Here's how the game works, and the audience could say, oh, confused, or oh, that's awesome, or whatever. And again, if you take the next step as a follower, as they did, you can buy the t-shirt, for instance, you get the game for free. And how awesome is that? Now you've got these people who were walking around wearing your t-shirt with your logo on it, and others are asking, hey, hey, what's that? And it gives them the opportunity to start this conversation. Say, oh, it's this great new game I've been watching on Twitch. It's really cool. And you get this twofer, right? You get the proceeds from the t-shirt, which maybe is not great, but you get the advocacy, which is really great. So there are developers out there who are promoting the advocacy as early as possible even in the concept phase. So thinking about all these kinds of influencers and advocates, you naturally start to think about hardware. Well, maybe not naturally, but it's important to my talk. So you start thinking about hardware. And you know, I'll jump to the bottom there. Jesse just talked about responsive game design. It's actually critical because you really have to make sure your game lives where the users are, right? So not just the users, but the people that your influencers have sway with, right? So before they can say, hey, go try this, you got to make sure that your game is actually going to be available to the people they're talking to. And if it isn't, two things will happen. Number one, you won't get any conversion, obviously. They can't access it. But number two, that influencer really won't advocate for you anymore, because why would they tell their followers to go do something that they're unable to do? So think about how to get on all the different devices. Phones, tablets, TVs, obviously, but maybe even the more specialized or cutting-edge hardware too, just depending on the circumstances. So there are a couple options. And a key approach is, as Jesse described, is the responsive game design, allowing your game to work across a broad array of devices or device families and be able to use controllers or touch or whatever without custom code or very little custom code, so it lowers the bar for your effort. And as Jesse mentioned, there's lots of information about this on the web. You can talk to any of us or email us and we can get you, put it in your hands. So boiling down this story of influencers, it's all about appealing to that small, targeted group that can encourage the mainstream to adopt, right? Most people in the mainstream, they don't get your concept. They don't see all the pieces. They don't understand how it all fits together. Or really, more importantly, they probably don't notice your game in a very, very crowded marketplace. So it's the influencers who teach them all that stuff and explain it and also make them aware of your game and how great it is. So really focusing on the influencers is the key to your ultimate success. So here's just one data point from Apptentive, which is a company that helps open communication between apps and their user base. It's kind of a measure of how well their clients engage and retain their users. And their analysis shows that if you interact with your customers, and I'm thinking about primarily the people who are getting directed to your app from the influencers, that your customer retention goes up. So the effect is immediate, but even after 3 months, there's still a 4-fold increase in overall retention. So if you can find ways to turn your base into advocates, it will have a material impact. Okay, great. So what's the second strategic way to build on the basics and promote a fan base? Content creation. Wow, I just can't say this slide at all, sorry. You want to enable people to be able to make content using your game as a base, which will lead to a greater variety and longer-lasting game experiences. So as far as content creators go, there are a few different classifications that are important to us. The first is the entertainer. We've got PewDiePie up there, who kind of freaks out about stuff and reacts to gameplay. He's very entertaining to watch, right? So as I mentioned, he's the #1 subscribed channel on YouTube. And you see there are a couple other names up there you might recognize, like Rihanna and Katy Perry and Eminem, and you notice they're all below him on the subscription list. And in fact, guess what number 3 and number 4 on this list are? They're also gamers. So gaming entertainment is huge. There's also live streaming, like I mentioned, such as Twitch. And Twitch, you'll hear more about this if you haven't already, but Twitch is basically like YouTube, except that it's live and interactive, and you can actually interact with the people who are streaming, which is awesome. They've got 100 million viewers with about 16 billion minutes watched every month. And what's crazy is the average viewer on Twitch watches for 106 minutes per day. So these are highly, highly engaged folks. And again, look at the followers with the most, the broadcasters with the most followers. These are all game related. Okay, so entertainers. People that just have a good time playing these games, they entertain their fan base, but those aren't the only kind of content creators, right? Another popular area of content creation is focused on education. So these are basically people who say, I will teach you how to play Hearthstone, or I will teach you how to play League of Legends, or build a better deck, or figure out strategy. They'll break down the nuances of the game and help you succeed as a player. So it's another reason to watch. One is I think it's funny, it's entertaining. Another is I want to learn. The next classification is related to esports, which I mentioned earlier. So this is a picture of a stadium full of people. They're all watching 10 players in the middle of the arena on computers playing League of Legends against each other. And the guys at the desk are the commentators for the game, right? So just like for any other sporting event, they're providing color, they're providing background, they're talking about the players, they're talking about the strategies. And then these guys in the back, these are fans, and look at them, they're just like, whoa, I'm so excited to be here. It's like a big event, I'm so excited. It's League of Legends. It's crazy, huge, awesome fan base. And content creators can share their work in other ways. So here's an example of fan art, very much like the League of Legends. This is fan art for Club Penguin, which is a Disney property. And it's a powerful way to engage with your fans. Fan art, fan fiction, it's just a really cool way for people to connect and show each other what they're excited about with your game, and it just builds on that. More examples. You've got Minecraft, of course. So much has been added to this game. I mean, you could probably play, who knows, infinitely, effectively play forever just from the additional content that's been added by players, right, through mods. And then whenever a new movie comes out, you can play it in Minecraft. If you want to play Hunger Games in Minecraft, there's a mod for that. Similarly, but maybe not so obvious, we could look at Trivia Crack. They've got a large portion of content coming directly from the players. They have a question factory so fans can create and curate content. I mean, this is brilliant, right? This is low cost, and it's more fun. Okay, so the last piece of this puzzle, building a fan base, is finding a way to generate alternative revenue. And by that I mean revenue that you earn outside the core monetization loop in your game. This revenue is for you, but it can also help the people who are participating in this adventure with you, right? These are the fans that I'm talking about. And the most common way to do this, obviously, is through products, right? This is a great way to go because now you're making money on the t-shirt or the plushie from My Singing Monsters or the phone case. And at the same time, you're getting those people to go out and advocate for you and show off your stuff. You can also drive revenue from fan engagement outside your actual product. So here's an example of a developer having raised almost $2 million on their Kickstarter page. I think they've since crossed $4 million, something like that, just in crowdfunding alone. So that's one way to start generating revenue before you even start building your game. And there are whole talks devoted to making Kickstarter work for you. But another approach would be, again, Twitch TV is a great example of generating ad revenue, for instance, outside your normal game. So Riot Games has 632 million views of their esports events, all of which are generating ad income for them. Other obvious ways to generate revenue: film, television. This isn't for everybody, but you think about Lara Croft making $274 million, Resident Evil $296 million, Prince of Persia about $335 million. I mean, it's gotten to the point where Ubisoft has actually created their own studio now to develop their games and other content into TV and film, and an Assassin's Creed movie is already in production. Whoop, yes. But like I said, not everybody has the ability to turn their game into a TV or movie. They don't have the connections or the budget or whatever. But we just saw how there are other broadcast opportunities out there, right? YouTube and Twitch, these amazing followings, and there's something for everybody at every level. So with that, we've identified these 3 additional areas that we can explore to expand on the basic MVP. And let's just review quickly the techniques you can apply to build out each one. So for influencers, make sure that you actually relate to their audience and your game is on the devices they use, but also provide value to them so that they're motivated to advocate for you. And really, just kind of orthogonal to that, make sure that you treat your early players like gold. To support content creation, encourage player-initiated improvements. At the very basic level, this can be just, allowing feedback in your game, but you can do more. In fact, you should be celebrating the community's contributions, and you should be working to find ways that contributors can gain value from their creations. And finally, be sure, if this wasn't obvious, to explore alternative revenue streams. Physical goods are the most obvious approach, but you can also build new channels to your audience, helping them find you outside the game itself, and you can even promote them. So help them grow so they can help you grow. So that's it. I just want to throw up one more time the survey link. Be sure to fill this out and enter yourself into the drawing one more time. And thank you very much.